In this video, we're going to talk about what are tips. So it's worth mentioning that there are some prohibitions to keep at the top of mind. And it's important that you as a business owner, or even as a restaurant owner, or even management, what you can and can't do. The biggest thing is employers and managers or supervisors may not keep tips. So while you might have possession of them because it's the credit card fees that you are collecting and the credit card transactions that you have in a day, and it may be in your possession, that doesn't mean you keep any of it. You still have to pay it back to the employee. So managers and supervisors may only keep tips given to them directly by a customer and cannot participate in a tip pool. So in other words, if you're a manager and you are waiting on a table and a customer gives a tip for $15, that tip is directly the manager's tip and they get to keep that. However, a manager cannot take another employee's tips or participate in tip pools. Now remember, the FLSA prohibits employers from keeping any portion of the employee's tips. While you might have it in your possession, that doesn't mean you're keeping it. You have to pay it to the employee for sure. So what is tip pooling? Well, this allows employers to require employees to share or pool their tips together with other eligible tipped employees. Now, the FLSA does not set any type of limitation on the percentage or the amount of the contribution of each employee in this mandatory tip pool. So if an employer says we are going to tip or we're going to put a pool of tips together, you have to contribute, 20% of your tips or 50% of your tips in to share with other tipped employees. They have to set the standard and they have to communicate that to you. Now, there's something called a traditional tip pool, and these are when tips are pulled together and shared amongst other staff who are, of course, tipped employees. That includes people who are waiters, bellhops, which are people that are answering the door or opening up doors for people, counter personnel who are actually waiting on customers, people who bus tables or bussers, and service bartenders. So bartenders who make drinks at the bar. So that's a traditional tip pool because it's actually going with folks who actually do receive tips customarily and normally. Now, a non-traditional type of tip pooling is when the tip arrangement includes employees not customarily or regularly receiving tips. So for example, your employer says, or you're the company and say that, hey, y'all have to pull your tips together because you're going to share them with dishwashers and cooks. You're only able to do this if the workers receive a direct cash wage of at least the federal minimum wage. When I read that, it means to me $2.13 an hour for the federal, but that may not necessarily be the case. But they are not so clear with this, but I can't foresee that many restaurants would do this where they start a non-traditional tip pool, but this is an option for you. And when it comes to credit card fees, it's important to understand that employers may pay the employee the tip less the credit card transactional fees. So for an example, if the credit card company charges a 3% transactional fee, the employer must pay 97% of the remaining tips to the employee. Now, keep in mind, this is just the federal statute. That doesn't necessarily mean states are the exact same. Some states obviously have some rules that say you can't deduct credit card transactional fees. So if you're not sure, check your state law or check your state Department of Labor website. When it comes to service charges, this is a situation where the restaurant may charge a flat service fee to a group of people. So I've been at restaurants before where they said, okay, you got 15 people in your group. If it's 15 people or more, we automatically charge a 15% service charge that's automatically added onto the bill. And it's not a voluntary thing. You have to pay it because you have more people that we have to serve and we have to put more people on your table. So basically, the FLSA states that the service charges are not considered tips under this particular rule because it's a compulsory charge for service like mandatory service fee. Now, it does say these may be used to satisfy the employer's minimum wage or the employer's minimum wage and overtime pay obligations. and it should be included in the employee's total compensation and included in the regular rate of pay computation. It's weird because they say it's not tips, but it sounds to me almost like it's a bonus. More than it is a tip, but you do have to include it in your employee's regular rate of pay computation. So it is something that you need to do. And it says they may be used to satisfy the minimum wage and overtime pay obligations. So in other words, they're saying they're not tips, but they could still be used as if they were a tip.